Hey there, Stampers. This is Sherry Roth. I'm a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Canada, and I'm here to share this beautiful card with you. It's a simple card, but I wanted to share a couple tips on using the Lovely Labels Pick-a-Punch, which coordinates with the Lovely You stamp set and is available as a bundle, and you save 10%. So we're going to make this cute little card today. All right, so I will have a full supply list linked below in this in the description of this video, so you can check that out there if there's anything that you're wondering that I'm using. I will kind of talk it through as well. Okay, so first of all, I've got a piece of Whisper White cardstock that measures 3 3/4 by 5, and I'm just going to pull in a scrap piece of paper, and we're going to do some stamping. So we're going to stamp this little border here. Now, when I stamp multiple images like that, I prefer to start with the largest image. Let's just move this out of the way. So I'm going to use Granny Apple Green with this leaf image. All the stamps that I'm using are from the Lovely You stamp set today. And I'll just stamp it a couple times up the page here. And you can see that I'm stamping it off of the paper as well. That makes it look like it's intended to be like that. And actually, while we have the stamp out, let's do the inside as well. So I've got a separate piece of Whisper White cardstock that measures 4 by 5 1/4. And I'm just going to do a little cluster kind of in this corner. So we'll add one green leaf there. All right, so we're done with Granny Apple Green. Now let's bring in the next largest image. And that would be this leaf image. For this one, I'm going to use Daffodil Delight. And I'm going to bring in a sponge dauber. And I'm going to sponge a little bit of Poppy Parade onto it. Okay, so I'm going to ink it in the lighter color first. And then I'm going to take my sponge dauber, and I think this is an orange sponge dauber actually. Let's grab my red one. Okay. Hard to tell what is red here. I think this is red. Okay, so then I'm just going to dip that in there, and just kind of at the base of the leaves and on the stem, I'm just tapping a little bit of red ink, and then we'll just kind of fill this image in. So can you see how that adds just a little bit of extra color in there? So now I'm going to stamp off, get some of that excess ink off before I re-ink in the yellow. I don't want to transfer any of that leftover red ink into my yellow ink pad. Just repeat that process. Let's see here. Okay, and then I'm going to do one on the inside piece. So again, I'll stamp off, ink in the yellow, add just a bit of red, and look at that, I've got a smudge there. Okay, there we go. So we are done with this color. Okay, while I've got the red out, I'm going to grab a scrap piece of Whisper White cardstock, and I'm going to stamp 3 of these little flowers using the Poppy Parade. Just like that. And those I will fussy cut. We're going to bring this back in. So this is the inside layer, and I'm going to add a flower on there. And then actually I don't want to add any red ones on that one. Okay, and then I have one more image. There is this tiny little image that is in this stamp set. So I'm going to bring in some mango. So I'm just going to fill in some of these little gaps with some mango. This might have been better in red. That's okay. All right. Oh, let's add one on the inside layer here as well. There we go. Okay, so I think Our stamping, apart from our greeting, is done. So we'll move these out of the way. We can get rid of this. Before we continue on, we are going to stamp our greeting. So I have a piece of Whisper White cardstock that measures 3/4 of an inch by 3 inches. I'm going to use the greeting Wildly Grateful, and I'm going to stamp it in Memento ink right in the center. Okay, now I'm going to bring in my punch. Okay, so this is a fabulous punch. It's called the Lovely Labels Pick a Punch, and it's like having 6 punches in one. So you've got, well, can you see that? You've got this detail and this detail, and then for each one of these, there are 3 different sizes that you can slide in, and each size gives you a slightly different look. They layer beautifully. It just provides so many different options. So you can put in a 3/4 inch, or sorry, a 1/2 inch, a 3/4 inch, and a 1 inch piece. So this piece happens to be 3/4 of an inch. So we're going to use this simpler one, and I'm going to slide that in. So I am lining it up with the 3/4 inch track, which is the middle track, and I'm just going to slide it all the way in as far as it goes. Now you can punch right away, but what I encourage you to do is get in the habit of flipping it over, because these are narrower, sometimes it will adjust and it won't go in straight. So you can see that this is lined up with this edge here and this edge here. It looks good, but at this point, it gives you the option to kind of nudge it if it needs to be nudged in either direction. Okay, so then I'll just stamp it down and I've got that beautiful edge. Okay, now I'm going to have this run off the page, so I don't need to do this side, but you could flip it around and do the same thing on the other side. Okay, all right, and then I've got a layer to go underneath it. So this piece measures 1 inch by 3.5 inches, so 1/2 inch longer, and I'm going to use this punch this time. So this is the largest track, so I'm going to slide it in using that larger track. And again, before I punch, I'm going to flip it over and just make sure that it's straight. So I kind of use the edges to make sure it's even, and then I look at the pattern and see if, is there an even distance from this point to the edge of the cardstock, and it looks pretty good. So I'll punch that. And again, I could turn it around and do the other side as well, but it's going to hang off the edge, so I don't need to do that. Okay, so then this is going to get layered on top of that, just like that. But before I do that, let me show you this little cheater chart that I created. So this is, I did some playing around. So first of all, in the 3 sizes, this is what the simpler punch looks like. So it looks slightly different for each one. And then for the more detailed punch, this is what it looks like. And then if you want to layer them, so if you're doing both sides, then if you just want a nice small border around the edge, as long as you cut your cardstock, your matte cardstock, 1/4 inch longer, you'll get something that looks like this if you're using the same punch for both. So this one we did it different. Okay, so we used both punches. If you're using the same one, 1/4 inch bigger, and you are good. Okay, you can use the same punch and make it 1/2 inch longer, and you'll have a wider border. And this is perfect if you want to add something like some little gems or rhinestones on the end. So you could do that. You could do that on there. There's enough space so that you could add some detail on the end like that. You could also add like a little flower. So it gives you a little bit more flexibility if you want to do something decorative on the ends. And then when you're mixing the labels, so like I did here where I used one of these and one of these, you want to give yourself a little bit more space. So 1/4 inch isn't quite long enough. You need at least 3/8 inch, preferably 1/2 inch. Again, when you're doing just one side like I am, it doesn't matter so much. But if you're doing both sides, that 3/8 inch, or like I said, preferably 1/2 inch is better. Okay, So that gives you an idea. And the other thing that you can do is maybe you want to do them the same side, so same size. So here, this is 3/4 of an inch and an inch, but here I did an inch and an inch so that the borders are only showing on either end. So that's another option with this punch. Okay, so hopefully you found that helpful. All right, so let's go ahead and assemble our card. So I'm just going to use a little bit of multi-purpose glue and stick this onto here. Let's slide this over so that I can see. It's hard to see the black on black. So I'm just going to position this so that I have a relatively even border on the top and bottom and the right-hand side, or sorry, left-hand side. And then this is going to go, actually let's add our black layer first. I'm going to bring in a piece of basic black cardstock that measures 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. Oh, again, this is hard, black on black here. So this is going to only give us about a 1/16 of an inch border all the way around. There we go. And then this is going to go on using dimensionals. So I'm just going to grab a couple Stampin' Dimensionals. And part of this is going to get trimmed off, so I'm not going to put it right on the edge. And then just use my grid here. Oh, hang on, let's do right about there, I think is good. Okay, then I'll just flip this over and trim off this excess. Okay. Now we can attach this to our card base. So for this one, I happen to choose a different colored card base. So I'm going to use Mango Melody. This measures 5.5 by 8.5 and it's scored at 4 1/4. And we'll attach that to the card base. This is going to give us a little bit of a wider border. And then remember those 3 flowers that I stamped? I've gone ahead and fussy cut some, so you don't need to watch me fussy cut. And I'm just going to use my fingers and kind of fold these up or curl these up just a little bit. I'm going to add one right here. And then another one right here. Love that pop of red. And then we'll add another one just kind of right there. So I'm going to take just a sliver of a dimensional and put it right there. And then attach this guy on there. There we go. And then one last thing, I'm going to bring in some of the gems. These are called the Flowers for Every Season gems. Love these. I can't seem to create a card without them. This is the second package that I've gone through, and they've only been available for a month. Just love them, especially these little clear ones. So I'm just kind of going to take, I think, 3 of them and just add them in here just for a little bit of something extra. I just use a dot of Tombow. There we go. And then the last thing that we just need to do is we just need to add our insert. Tombow is my preferred adhesive because I love that it's a liquid glue. You don't need a lot of it. It sticks really well, but it gives you the flexibility of being able to slide things into position and reposition it relatively quickly if you need to. All right, and there we go. So let me bring back the Poppy Parade one. So there we've got our 2 different cards. are two cards that are the same, just slightly different. I just modified the colors. So I hope you guys found that helpful. Like I said, a full supply list will be included below, and you will definitely want to add that lovely Labels Pick-a-Punch to your collection. It's fabulous. So versatile, and you can use it with so many different greetings. All right, so thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up. And if you are not yet a subscriber, hit that subscribe button. All right, have a great day.